Hello, everyone. Welcome to my show, Career Startup Podcast, a podcast to spotlight Asian entrepreneurs. And this is your host, Priyanka Komala. Today, I have with me two fabulous guests joining us from Austin in Texas, here in the United States of America, Shaz and Kiks. Shaz and Kiks, welcome to my show.
Hi. Hi. Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you. It's such a pleasure to host you both. So let me give you some introduction about who Shaz and Kiku are. They're part of a brand called SHAZ and Kiks, which is a new Ayurvedic-inspired beauty brand founded by these two wonderful sisters. We're so excited to host you on Career Startups Podcast.
We're very excited to be here.
Thank you. So, Shaz, if you can just wave your hand, and that's Kiku.
Hello.
So Shaz and Kiku, they began production of their new hair care and wellness brand, which is now 5 weeks in the market. And we're so excited to spotlight on these amazing products that they've created, as well as understand the vision behind them. Now, the best part about this brand is that it celebrates the Indian culture as well as gives back to it and brings more visibility. The brand pays homage to the heritage and the beauty rituals that have been passed on from generations of women in their lives. So really excited to get to know more about what you do and the story behind the brand as well.
Yeah, we're excited to share.
And to our listeners, we're going to discuss three things with Shaz and Kiks. It's one, as part of the brand, how are they modernizing age-old rituals and formulations while creating a sustainable cycle of production by giving back to the traditional communities? Two, the inspiration behind the brand Shaz and Kiks. And three, how are these wonderful sisters working together to demystify the Ayurvedic beauty and preventative healthcare and helping us succeed as women and celebrating our beauty and our wellness. I think that's really awesome. Now, Shaz, let me get started with you. You're promoting a concept that we don't have to be perfect as women, right? And Ayurveda is something that everybody talks about, but it's still an alien term to a lot of people in the Western world. What is the one thing that you're doing to make it more relatable to the US and European markets?
Yeah, so I mean, I think you're exactly right. Ayurveda is very we think that it's a little foreign to the Western consumer. We also feel like it has a little bit of a kind of not just foreign, but maybe like spa, kind of a little bit hippie, that kind of connotation to the word Ayurveda. So one of the things that we're trying to really do, we're not focusing very much on kind of the word Ayurveda, but we're focusing more on the benefits and like the concepts and the whole idea around holistic care. And so the other way that we're really trying to educate is to make sure that we convey the science behind it, because in reality, Ayurveda is based on a lot of scientific principles, and it's not just a made up thing. So we've really done tons of research on also the science of both the rituals as well as the ingredients. And so, I think we're really trying to highlight that so that people understand the why. And then finally, from a brand voice point of view, we're trying to keep it our brand voice and our brand aesthetic to be very young and fun versus more spa-like, to kind of take a little bit of that connotation out that Ayurveda can actually be for anybody.
Definitely a vibrant brand that a lot of young people can also relate to. Now, tell me this. Your product recipes are inspired from your grandmother in India. And I know you're from Bengal and you've spent your beautiful summers in the foothills of Himalayas. So tell us about a favorite memory hanging out with your grandparents. Kiku?
Yeah. So we spent all of our summers, both with our paternal and our maternal families. But it's really in our maternal grandparents' home that we learned the power of plants and that Ayurvedic holistic life. They lived on this beautiful big property. There, it's kind of a little bit of like a rainforest, tropical weather in the foothills of the Himalayas. And they had, both our grandparents were big gardeners, and we had beautiful trees. And, one of my favorite things that it was, it's kind of the art of the ritual. Our grandmother would wake up very early every single morning, and she would go into the garden, collect flowers for, for kind of her spiritual, religious pujas that she would conduct. And along with that was also collect all different types of herbs and flowers that she would later on kind of create different concoctions and mixes in the kitchen for all the ladies in the family that would take care of our skin, would take care of our hair. And I've always been, since I was little, a really big beauty junkie. I'm a huge beauty fan, and I've always absolutely loved the process and like kind of following her around and really learning about the plants and helping her pick out all these different wonderful kind of different herbs that are so beneficial, and learning from her and helping her create these different mixes that she would create for the whole family, all the ladies of the family. So that's definitely one of my favorite things from my childhood that is a big inspiration for our brand.
That's a nostalgic memory. And as somebody who grew up in India, I used to spend my summers with my grandmother, and I would love all these different recipes for skincare that she would use with, turmeric, yogurt, and all the wonderful herbs. And it's always a fantastic experience looking back at our childhood.
Absolutely.
Now, hair care is as important as skincare, right? And in the era of using chemicals and a lot of harsh treatments that really damage our scalp, how did the idea of the brand Shaz and Kiks shape up?
I think, so obviously this has been part of the way we grew up from our childhood. So that's always been there. But it was one of those things where kind of the stars aligned. It was a couple of years ago. Shaz had lived in Dubai for many years. I lived with my family in New York City. And, kind of the stars aligned, and we both moved back to Texas about 2 years ago. And, there's a couple of things that were brewing. We both had been out in the corporate world for many years. And, we loved working, and we loved, that part of our life. But we really were looking for bringing more meaning to it. And so we were back home. Our parents live in Texas and Houston. We were visiting our parents, kind of our some of our favorite kind of reunion weekends. And our parents just came back from India. And one of the favorite things we love when our parents come back is my mom does this huge beauty haul of all the different kind of new and old Ayurvedic and like plant-based beauty products that are in India. And so we were kind of going through all her fun, kind of shopping that she had done. And, kind of very traditionally, she'll always make these oil mixes that, again, she learned from her mother, our grandmother, using kind of different things that she had happened to bring back from India, and gave us some nice oil massages. Myself, Shaz has two young teenage girls. And so, it's one of those like kind of, we try to really bring the way that we kind of grew up and that collective feeling of women taking care of ourselves. And so we do kind of replicate that when we go back home. Anyways, we had some fun family gossip. We ate home cooked, meals, did our besan and yogurt masks. And at the end of the weekend, me and Shaz just felt so good, and we felt like our healthiest. And we really felt like our hair, whenever we treat it this way, especially, it feels the healthiest. And a lot of these ingredients are not on the mass markets here in the Western world. They're not products that we use on a daily basis. We buy things from the stores that are here. And we really felt like we really wanted to package up everything from this wonderful weekend, which wasn't just like one random weekend. It's how we always feel whenever we go back home. So kind of taking the wonderful ingredients of these Ayurvedic formulas and products to really take care of our hair, which we feel like has been really kind of a gap in the Western markets. There's been a huge involvement and advancements of skincare, but when it comes to hair care, we still feel like there's a lot of growth and opportunity there. Again, kind of the whole kind of clean beauty movement is just starting with hair care, and it's been very the same old routine: shampoo, condition, and then a bunch of styling products here, right? So we really felt like there was a space that we could bring these concepts that we grew up with, and again, just the joy of female bonds and that collectiveness, and really kind of create a brand and ethos around that.
Yeah, and I think that, we have always wanted to do something together. And so it was, like we debated about different ideas here and there. And then, after this weekend, it was like, this seems great. Like, this actually seems like something that could be really feasible. And that's how Shaz and Kiks was born.
That's an amazing story. Thanks for sharing that. And it's wonderful. A couple of things that I've learned is, one, self-care is very critical, especially as women who play multiple roles, right? Taking care of ourselves and just our wellness, not just the beauty aspect of it, but feeling good. That feel good factor is very critical. And two, as you mentioned, the bonding that you get as part of sisterhood, that's something that's very it's hard to just explain it. And I have a sister myself, so I can really relate to what you're saying. And three, and the most important, is sharing the wisdom that you have gained from your grandparents and your family to the rest of the people who might be very interested in self-care routines. So I think those are wonderful pieces of information to share. So thank you for that.
Yeah, sure.
Now let's talk about your brand itself. So if you look at Shaz and Kiks, the way you've formulated the logo, you've taken immense care to reflect the femininity and even the hair strand as part of your ampersand. But the most important of all is the feeling of inclusivity. That's definitely part of your brand and packaging. Walk us through the thought behind it.
We absolutely wanted to, you're totally correct. We really wanted for it to, even though it comes from a specific culture, like we mentioned, Ayurveda is for everybody. It is timeless, it is borderless, and it's cultureless. It can be applied to anybody, anywhere in the world, right? So we really wanted to, that was kind of the main focus. And if you kind of see, again, the current hair care landscape and industry here in the US, especially, it is very fragmented. Everyone kind of feels like their specific ethnic hair, is not relatable to another type of ethnic hair or another type of hair characteristic. So we really wanted to kind of bring down those kind of segments and bring down those barriers. And the wonderful thing about Ayurvedic formulas is that it is for every type of hair texture. And one of the things is, that we love kind of sharing is, we kind of get this question of, oh, is it for Indian hair? And there isn't like a specific trait or characteristic that is Indian hair. It's such a heterogeneous population. There's every type of hair within the spectrum, right? You can have very kinky, coily hair, curly hair, all the way, to very straight, very silky hair, and everything in between. And that is Indian hair. And that is what kind of the Ayurvedic way of treating that hair has always been able to do. So I think really kind of making sure that, whether it be within our photo shoots and kind of the models, and we actually use a lot of friends and family within our photo shoots as well, just to make sure that it's just real and then we're using kind of everyday people. We want to showcase it across all various ethnicities and hair types. And then we also, kind of our packaging, we wanted it to be very explicit and to share the story. We used two women, who are kind of like, kind of in this forest, and their hairs are kind of melding into the forestry and the vegetation around them. And they're kind of tan skin. And we again wanted to, you don't see that often. It's starting to happen now, but in the US, you see very specific types of models and specific types of illustrations, and we wanted to break down those barriers. We wanted to use women of color that can be relatable to anybody. So we really use our packaging as a way to tell our story and to bring that importance of inclusivity as well.
That's the best part about brands like you, Shaz and Kiks, because you can relate to it. You feel like this is something that I could use in my everyday life and put it as part of my routine. So, that's kudos to you both for really thinking through it. And as you mentioned, a lot of global organizations focus on being the perfect woman out there with, amazing hair and amazing skin. But as women in our everyday lives, we understand, the challenges that we go through with our skin types and how our skin reacts to our changing environmental conditions as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, even things like postpartum, like a lot of women experience hair loss during postpartum. I think that was one of the times in which, Kiku was talking a little bit about being a beauty junkie since she was little. That was not me, actually. I kind of shunned it all. I mean, I have very fond memories of it, and I love the idea of doing it, but when it actually came to it, I was like, oh, it's oily. It's like it doesn't feel good. And of course, it was really only after I had my children. And then, I started having a lot of hair loss. And I mean, I couldn't really find anything that that I could buy in a store that would help me and that would help my hair loss. And that's kind of when I went like back to my roots from that perspective. But I think, you know, that's another like critical time where I think women have, you know, just a lot of self-doubt and just, you know, overall kind of issues and like changes, like so many changes happening in their bodies. They're having to take, you know, their bodies are not their own. So I think that's a really important time also for that kind of self-care.
I agree. Motherhood is a challenging time as part of your journey, and everything changes, be it your lifestyle, your routines, your schedules, and your body takes a lot of adjustment. And that's when you have all these kinds of different, things that we start thinking about, be it your image, you know, the way you react to things and the way your skin shapes up. So I'm glad, you know, we have a product out there, you know, that can really help us get through our day-to-day lives. Now let's focus on the business model behind Shaz and Kiks. Currently, you're in bootstrap mode.
Mm-hmm.
What is your vision for success?
So I think, you know, yeah, you're right. So we're bootstrap, self-funded at this time. I think from a funding point of view, our goal is to try and stay like fund the business, you know, through the business. So self-fund as far as possible. I think there's some inflection points that, you know, could happen down the line that, you know, we've been even started talking about a little bit in terms of potentially, you know, bringing our manufacturing in-house or even working with, you know, sustainable kind of like farmers in India to grow some of our hero ingredients. I think those are kind of those inflection points in which we may, you know, decide that we need to go for outside funding. But in terms of our success, I think we'd love to be able to self-fund as far as possible. And so, you know, it's always kind of that balance between what is that right rate of growth to be able to self-fund. And that's what, you know, I mean, we're only 5 weeks old, but, you know, we're trying to figure out and trying to plan ahead.
That's a great vision. And, you know, working with the local community, I think that's really inspiring because it's part of the sustainable business model to give back to the community, which is necessary. And I'm so glad entrepreneurs like you are really taking it up on themselves to create that shift in the needle.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that was, you know, besides, you know, kind of sharing and celebrating our heritage, it was also kind of about how we can, you know, really almost like financially give back, right? So, you know, again, we're just in start mode. So we've been able to work with wood artisans who created these wonderful handmade neem wood combs for us. And, you know, we have a certain percentage of our give back program that goes directly back to them. And as Shaz says, right now we do source some of our ingredients directly from small sustainable Indian farms. We would love to continue to grow that and help build, you know, kind of really be part of the economics of, you know, of parts of India where we can perhaps, you know, kind of fund and help the livelihood directly of farmers and different, you know, artisans and all the kind of production that happens around it. So that is definitely a long-term goal of ours, is to not just celebrate our culture and share it, but also figure out how we can, even through that, financially give back and support an economy.
Glad to see you're part of a larger ecosystem. So best wishes on your endeavors going forward. Now, your products maintain the color and the fragrance as part of your grandmother's original recipes. Mm-hmm. Now, if I may ask you, Shaz and Kiku, what are your top 3 must-have products, and do you have a favorite?
So we would say, I mean, our pre-washes is our hero product, and they're created for 2 larger types of hair categories. One that is specifically formulated for dry, frizzy, or curly hair, and the other one is for thin, flat to normal hair. And so, you know, we love these products. We think that they are absolutely for everybody. And why we really kind of push out there, and the tagline is that it's your new step 1 in hair care, is that it really holistically takes care of your entire hair ecosystem. So there are ingredients that are very beneficial for your hair roots and your follicles. So they can be fed the right way, and healthy hair grows from the very beginning. And then there's ingredients that really are wonderful for your scalp, to keep it clean and balanced. And then really beautiful, luxurious oils that really kind of nourish and strengthen your strands. And so I think, we would say like kind of our 3 favorite ingredients for me personally that are actually in both the pre-washes is something like neem, which is wonderful for antibacterial and anti-inflammatory reasons. It also has proven benefits for help treating dandruff, and we love the fact that it's such a superstar ingredient when it comes to really taking care of your scalp. Then there's something like amla, a great nourishing oil that is wonderful for all types of hair. It's not too heavy, it's not too light. It has a lot of fatty acids in it. And then something like the kokum butter that's specifically in the dry, frizzy, and curly hair one. We love this product. It is so incredibly moisturizing without, again, it being weighed down. And we've really seen, especially individuals with curly hair and kind of dry hair really benefit from that kokum butter. So I would say, kind of those are my 3 favorite ingredients that we use across the board.
Yeah, so for me, I think, as you can probably see, like my hair is very, it's very fine and it's very silky, and I've never been able to do anything with it. I mean, it just sits. And so, I think the reason I was so excited about this product is because for somebody who has my texture hair, and I also have a very oily scalp, so I, used to have to really shampoo my hair every day. Otherwise, it like really didn't look very good. It looked very greasy. And so the reason I'm so excited about this product, and now we, obviously we've only been on the market for 5 weeks, but we have been testing it for the last almost, year and a half to 2 years. Mm-hmm. And I love the fact that, so for me, my favorite ingredient is the Rita, the soap nut, which is kind of that natural cleanser. But it really, I need something that's more of a drying ingredient for, kind of the oils in my scalp versus something that's really heavy moisturizing. So that's my favorite. And that's kind of like been my hair journey and like my eternal struggle to find something that's, going to volumize and just not make my hair so greasy.
Thank you for sharing all your favorite ingredients. And I love the fact that these are all natural ingredients, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Found as part of our growing up days back, in India. So I can totally relate to a lot of things that you're saying. So as part of your business model, Shaz and Kiks is focused on preventative hair care rather than being in a reactive mode when you see dry and damaged hair, say, for example. Why did you choose this specific business model?
So when we were when we were noodling around with the idea, we actually looked at both skin and hair kind of at the same time. And if you think about like skincare and the evolution of skincare, it really has made that, switch from being more reactive to being more preventative. And so now there's so many more products on the market that are more preventative versus just treating some issue that you're having at the moment. And if you think about like, Korean beauty and kind of, that the whole routine around that whole routine is all focused on, preventative. So I think Kiku mentioned this earlier, is that when you think about hair care, I mean, traditionally, right, it's shampoo, conditioner, and styling products. And so there hasn't really been room, or there hasn't been kind of those preventative types of treatments, if you will. And you are starting to see more, hair masks and hair oils and serums and things like that. But it's very, very nascent right now. And so we just felt like we could have a much more of an impact in terms of education around hair care prevention, again, based on what we grew up with and what we've learned from our mother and our grandmothers and our aunties. So that was, we actually very, very deliberately said, you know what, I think hair care is the area where there's, both opportunity and there's a real big need for education as well.
No, definitely. There's a huge vacuum in this space that you're looking at. And I'm so glad you're willing to take up on this opportunity and explore how best you can address the needs of the consumer.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the best part about being an entrepreneur is, the journey, trying to figure out what works, what doesn't work in the markets. Now, one thing that I would applaud you both is there's the COVID pandemic, and you've released your products 5 weeks ago. How did you decide on this approach, and what are some challenges that you're seeing in order to pivot and be successful in the market amidst these challenging times?
Yeah, so we actually, as we both have now mentioned, we started conceptualizing and started the business technically about 2 years ago, and product development took over a year, and then all the stuff that is needed to set up a business. And our original timeline was launching in April, and this was kind of set for any of the pandemic news that hit us. So when all that kind of came into fruition, starting in early March, our manufacturer tentatively shut down. We had all of our ingredients that had thankfully shipped to our manufacturing center, but they hadn't started, kind of compounding and actually creating the product. So everything was kind of halted, and just like everybody else all around the world, we didn't know what was going to happen. And of course, when it came to our professional life and this entrepreneurial journey that we started, we really started freaking out, right? We didn't know what was going to happen. Is it going to even be an opportunity for us to launch? And then, of course, the logistics of actually even creating our product. Our manufacturing center had tentatively shut down. There wasn't a super specific date that they said they were going to reopen. So there was a lot of unknown, just like how everybody else was, kind of dealing both professionally and personally. So we kind of tuckered down, and we had to kind of go with the flow. We kind of refocus during the time, and really kind of focus on creating community and creating more content, creating more dialogue with the fans, and growing our community at that time. So that's what we really focused on during that time. And then, as things kind of unfolded, we were able to kind of get things up and running and finished by July. And so we kind of reassessed and got reset up. And we were going to have our products technically ready by the end of July to start selling. And we did feel like this was, even though there are so much uncertainty and again, so much sadness that was happening and is happening, but there really is a need and a refocus on general wellness, right? Again, kind of coming up to the same topic we just talked about is preventative care, right? Rather than, whether it be nutrition and diet and, eating the right things from the inside, supplements, again, of course, there's the entire body care, but people are really wanting to focus on how they can make sure that their whole entire health is set up for success, right? That they're not getting sick, that they're not facing damages on their skin or their scalp or their hair. So we really felt like this was an opportune time to introduce a hair care and wellness brand, right? So especially for our very first hero product, the whole thing is about really being preventative, really trying to not wait till your hair gets super damaged and it needs a reparative mask, right? It's to make sure that you regularly take care of your scalp and your hair, just like you are now doing with your vitamins and your food and your skin. So, there was a lot of uncertainty. It was scary, just like kind of everyone was kind of going through those uncertain times of ups and downs. But we really do feel like it's created some new opportunities for us where we can really focus on the wellness of your entire hair.
I love the attitude, Kiku. In times of fear and uncertainty and a lot of unknown variables, especially as a new entrepreneur, I'm so glad you're taking it in your stride to really focus on the end consumer needs, which is, ourselves. Like, how do we live a holistic, happy life? And these routines, be it skincare and hair care, are just part of our everyday living and are integral to our lives. So, yeah. So right now, your business model is, your sales model is direct to consumers. Would consumers be seeing your products anytime soon in the retail markets?
So we are exploring a number of different opportunities and partnerships with retail. We'd love to be in kind of that kind of clean retail space. We are also engaging with some partners that are they're smaller, but they have a very, very engaged customer base. It's very, highly curated types of products. So we have a few of those in the works. And then also some of the kind of like the subscription box models. So we are, exploring these, and hopefully maybe, early next year you might see us.
That's amazing. We're looking forward to more such, products and, different ways in which you can engage with your consumers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, I can see the bond between the two sisters, both Shaz and Kiku. You gel along so well. Now, tell me, how is it working with two sisters as business partners, and what kind of skill sets do you complement?
Yeah. So as Shaz mentioned, we always wanted to do something together. We're almost 9 years apart, so there is quite a gap between us. But we've always been very, very close since the time we were little. And we definitely have personality traits that work really kind of are similar and work nicely together, and then kind of some complementary ones that also just jive well. And we do get this question, and people, working with family can be amazing. It can also bring up challenges. But, with Shaz and I, for the 35 years that we've known each other, because I'm 35, we always say that we really don't fight. We've had like maybe 5 fights our whole entire life. And it's mostly when we were younger, and I used to steal her clothes when she was a teenager, and she's really mad at me. So those are really primarily our main fights. But honestly, like our personalities, I think we do like to lean on reason and logic. And even when we don't agree on something, we very respectfully try to talk through, what is kind of the solution. And I think we're both very solution focused. We don't like to get bogged down by, by problems that come all the time. But we very much quickly want to look forward and kind of talk through all the different kind of options and solutions. And our MO is always to be respectful and to be also reasonable.
I like it, being respectable and reasonable. I think those are critical traits that every entrepreneur needs to have when you have co-founders, right? So that's pretty amazing. And I hope, go ahead, Shaz.
Well, I was just going to say that like Kiku was saying, that we balance each other out very well. As you can probably see, she is incredibly passionate and incredibly driven. I am much more like the level-headed, calm one. So we definitely bring that from like just complementary personalities, So she's like my little Tasmanian devil who's always running around like, but at the end of the day, I think, we are both like, we have the same ethics when it comes to work, the same goals, and just like, we're very, very execution focused. And I think, again, Kiku and I both I think combined probably have 30, 35 plus years of corporate experience. And I think, we're not new to the business world, right? And so I think that also helps us a lot, because we've had a lot of these kinds of experiences that we can also bring to our own business as well.
And I love the skills that you bring. Like me, as your, as somebody who's seeing it from the outside, Shaz, I see you as somebody who's very grounded and is very level-headed, as you mentioned. And Kiku is, the vibrant, enthusiastic face and voice who is really passionate about, putting those products in the market. Am I right?
Yes, you got it. Perfect. Yep.
I've done my research well now. That's really amazing. And I really admire you both as entrepreneurs who are bringing a lot of corporate discipline into your venture, and at the same time focused on sustainability and really addressing a problem that, every woman has to go through in her everyday life. So I'm really looking forward to your continued success.
Thank you
so much.
Thank you so much.
So we have a fun rapid fire round for you. Are you ready for it?
Yes.
All right, I'm going to go with Kiku first, given she's the first one who's super excited to be on this rapid fire round.
I get excited about everything.
That's a nice skill set to have, right? Being optimistic and being vibrant. We need a lot of people like you, Kiku. So you tell me the first thing that comes to your mind when I say the following. How does your family feel about your success, Kiku?
Oh, they're so supportive. So of course, I'll talk about our parents. Where we get so much inspiration and support. They've always been such wonderful role models. Have put so much of themselves into us, and they're so excited and over the moon about us kind of starting this journey, and especially that it's connected to our culture. They're
number one fans.
They're number one fans.
I totally agree. Our parents are our cheerleaders, right? They really see the success, and they get enthusiastic about it because it's all their dreams and everything else is part of the package, right?
Yeah.
So, Shaz, if I might ask you, given that you have two kids yourself, how do your kids feel about your products?
They are so involved. So if I want to say one thing, it's very involved. They have opinions about everything. They are very involved in our social media strategy. So they're always advising us on, what to do, what looks good, what doesn't look good, especially for that kind of, younger generation. Yeah, and they're so vested in it, and I think they really think of it as, and they're very close to Kiku, so they're so vested in it. They're constantly checking Instagram to see what comments. If there's ever, anything even remotely negative, they take it so personally. So yeah, it's really cute, and I think they're also very, very proud. So.
That's amazing to hear. And to our listeners, you need to check out the Instagram channel for Shaz and Kiks. It's such an amazing channel, and you would see both of these wonderful sisters sharing their daily routines as part of your skincare regime, as well as the real Kiku as well. So, fun things about her favorite products and, the way she thinks about skincare and wellness routines. So definitely check out Shaz and Kiks on their Instagram too. Next question, Kiku, role model.
I think that it's really hard to say one role model. I think it's a really exciting time to that kind of globally is happening. I think all the women that are out there that really are leaders and that are driving for change, the founders of the Black Lives Matter movement, Greta Gerwig, AOC, all these young, really vibrant ladies who really want to make the world better, I think definitely keep me inspired and motivate me.
Shaz?
So similar, I don't have one answer, but I would say, anytime we get kind of down about, what are we going to do about this? What are we going to do about this? I always I listen to, podcasts like yourself, basically podcasts who feature entrepreneurs and take us, the listener, through their journey. So yeah, for me, it's just all those badass women entrepreneurs who've kind of paved the way.
It's always inspiring to hear other entrepreneurs' journey, right? Because they must have faced a lot of lows and failures in their life. The world sees only their successes, so it's always nice to hear what it takes to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say, usually, of course, the highs are great, right? But really, you feel good when you're oh, they went through, either something similar or they had a setback and it didn't stop them, and look where they are now, and and just kind of how they worked through it. I think it's very inspiring.
Thank you. So that was Shaz and Kiku, the founders of Shaz and Kiks, the amazing kick-ass hair care and wellness brand that's out in the markets for everybody to try out. Do you have any parting thoughts to our listeners?
No, we just want to say thank you so much for having us. We're so excited to be on your podcast and to share our story. And go check us out.
Thank you. And to our listeners out there, we've learned a lot of interesting things about the brand. So I hope you find it very inspiring. Now, there are 3 key takeaways that we share with our listeners. And the 3 key takeaways from our podcast with Shaz and Kiks, co-founders of the wellness brand Shaz and Kiks, are 1, focus on products that are sustainable and give back to the community. And 2, follow your passion. And the passion started with the recipes from their grandmother, and here they are. And 3, be respectful and discuss and share opinions with reasonable logic, especially when you have co-founders who are also part of the amazing family. So those are 3 key takeaways that I want to share with our listeners. And thank you so much for being on our podcast. And I'm so glad I could get both the sisters right in one place in Austin. So thank you so much for being there for us, Kiku and Shaz.
Thank you so much for having us, Priyanka. We had a great time.
Thank you. And to our listeners, hope you feel inspired by this episode of Career Startup Podcast, a podcast to spotlight Asian entrepreneurs and interesting leaders that I meet in my life. This is your host, Priyanka Komala, signing off until another episode with another interesting guest. Thank you. And please do subscribe to our podcast on YouTube and any of your favorite podcast streaming platforms. And we'll be excited to share another episode with you very soon.